I wrote this book in the form of a series of articles, many of them not published, and speeches which were made public, because I was deeply disturbed by the course of American policy in the Middle East over this post-Cold War era. I should say that although I began my career in the Foreign Service in India, and was tempted to learn Persian, instead learned Tamil, which I've blessedly forgotten. I considered avoiding the Middle East my greatest diplomatic achievement for quite a long while. And when I was called in Maputo, Mozambique, and asked by George H.W. Bush to be ambassador to Saudi Arabia, he assured me, perhaps detecting that I wasn't terribly enthusiastic, that nothing ever happened there. That was one of the few things he got wrong, I think. And I watched a series of misadventures, risks that we took, judgments we made which turned out to be wrong. And I'm sorry to say that the misadventures very much continue. It's not just the gripping scenes in Tahrir Square in Cairo that I'm talking about, but remember that as we speak, we are in the process, as I speak, we are in the process of contriving a withdrawal from Iraq, a country that we have left in ruins, riven by religious strife, and about whose strategic orientation we are entirely uncertain. Will it be an adjunct of Iranian power in the Middle East, or as it was traditionally, a return to a balancing of Iran? We don't know. Will it enjoy domestic tranquility or sink again into a high level of civil strife that is destabilizing not just for itself but everyone in the region? Let's not forget, we managed to drive 20% of Iraqis from their homes. 10% of them remain in exile abroad. This happens to be the best educated technocratic class of Iraq. So Iraq is not only a misadventure but a source of great uncertainty. Afghanistan, no one can explain what we're trying to do there. Although, again, we seem to be withdrawing, there are no clear criteria by which we can measure the pace of that withdrawal, and the pacification effort we've undertaken does not appear to be succeeding. America appears to be creating more terrorists than we are eliminating. The issue of Iran, which has hung over the United States and the region for 30 years since the Islamic Revolution, first removed Iran as our regional gendarme in the region, as we used to call it, and made it an implacable enemy of the United States, remains unresolved. We have not found a basis for any sort of diplomatic dialogue with Iran. Don't believe those who say we've tried diplomacy and it's failed. We haven't been able to conduct diplomacy, as much for reasons of schizophrenia at home as because of schizophrenia in Tehran. Israel-Palestine issue. There's been no peace process for over a decade, although there have been farcical attempts to pretend that there was one. And now, of course, with the events in Egypt, we are reminded of the texts of the Camp David Accords, and if you actually go back and read those, you will be stunned to discover that they open with an affirmation by both sides, including Israel, of the sanctity of Resolution 242, by which Israel was to withdraw from all of the occupied territories, and 338, which affirmed 242, among other things. The initial part of Camp David is an elaborate set of scenarios for the removal of the occupation and the achievement of Palestinian self-determination, culminating in a referendum. None of this has been implemented. It is therefore not a little ironic that Mr. Netanyahu should insist that whatever follows the Mubarak regime in Egypt must be committed to implementing the Camp David Accords, since they have not been implemented on the other side. Finally, one has a sense that history is moving in important directions in the region as a whole. This is the one region of the world where a great civilization, that of the Arabs and Persia, has failed to find renewal and vigor. One looks at China, at India, reasserting themselves, Japan in an earlier era, and yet somehow the mixture of fatalism, fatalistic acceptance of the present, and an obsequious deference to foreign powers in the region has left it in a kind of neo-colonial position. If the Iranian Revolution was a break from that, it ended by isolating Iran, not spreading in the region. One has the sense, however, that the events in Tunis and Egypt represent a moment when the Arabs are standing up, setting aside their fatalism, developing a bit of optimism about the future, and trying to seize control of their own destiny in a way that they have never, since European colonialism arrived, been able to do.